My son's 15. It's crazy, man. When they're teenagers, right? Their voices change. When he was really little, I'd be like, "Daddy's home." I'd be, "Daddy's home," and now I'm greeted by an even deeper voice. So weird. "Daddy's home." And then from the back of the house, "Nobody cares." And that's my wife. And, he's Armenian, so, the hair came out quick, right? Not even kidding, man. I'm not even kidding. He must have been around 12. And he had like a little, and I go, "Dude, you got little chin hairs. You look like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo." And he's like, "Wow, Scoobs, I'm going through pubes."
Everybody listen to Darren Carter. Yeah. We all know he's the party starter. So if you want to listen to a podcast for free, listen to a pocket party. Pocket party. Darren.
And we're back.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. This is Darren Carter, the party starter on the Pocket Party Podcast. We have the one and only Mike Black.
Yes, you do.
Yay!
I think you're so cool because you have a podcast.
That's right. I've got a podcast. Remember when that was like I don't know, was it ever a cool thing? I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if it's ever reached that cool.
I think it was, but it very quickly became like having a skateboard.
I know. I remember when I saw a guy once brag that he had a cell phone that could hold like 999 contacts in it.
I remember now it would be more of a flex than ever, but I remember people being excited that they had an iPod.
Oh yeah.
They could pull 300 songs, and it's like I miss iPods. I was like, they stopped making them pretty much, So if someone busted one out now, I would be like, "Oh, that's really cool."
Yeah, I know, right? Because everything now is like streaming.
Yeah, it's all streaming, and you have to get a subscription to do it real fancy.
Yeah,
I like having. Even with an iPod, it was the same thing as having an album collection.
Yep.
Where you could look at someone else's and go, "Oh, this is cool, the different stuff that you're into." Because there's a difference between liking streaming music and having playlists of pretty much anything available. With an iPod or with an actual album collection, you knew that this was music that this person might have paid actual money for,
Yeah, there's something cooler about owning this stuff. Like you feel more of a connection when people are like, like a Rolling Stone album or The Doors or whatever it was, Led Zeppelin. They'd be like, "I own that. I have that. that's mine. I own that." Like they feel good about it. There's something like a connection. Like even now,
they made some sort of effort, to get it. And you remember Amoeba Music?
Yeah.
Over on Sunset. It's not there anymore. Now it's on Hollywood. But what was always fun was seeing people waiting in line for something, like some album that just dropped. And then you would ask, like, "Oh, what just came out?" And they'd be like, "Oh, the new NoFX album." And you'd look back at the line and go, "Okay, this kind of looks like NoFX people now."
Right. Yeah. Yeah, my son lately, he's been into, because he plays guitar and bass, and he's been learning. He'll just like start tinkering around, and next thing you know, he's like playing like last night he was playing from Metallica. He was playing "Fade to Black," like the intro to "Fade to Black," and it was like so cool. And he's like, and that's the thing, I don't like. It sounds familiar to me, but I'm like, I know that song, but I don't know until he tells me because I don't know. Do I own any Metallica? I think I may own like one or two. No, I do. I do own a CD that came out in 2016. I own that album. It's in my car. And then And then I think I own like a couple of their early albums like that were on my iPod. But other than that, I mostly got familiar with Metallica years later through streaming. Like I'd put it on a Spotify playlist, you know.
You're like, Metallica, screw that. When is the next Meredith Brooks album coming out?
Yeah, you know, or even
I'm a bitch too. When is that happening?
Even you know, as you know, I've been on this Frank Sinatra kick. Like I don't always make the connection of what album the song like a song will come on. I'm like, oh, it's so good. But I don't know which album it came on. And you know, sometimes
and his era was so confusing because it was like the Capitol Records Frank Sinatra album. It's like that's not going to be easy to remember.
Yeah, exactly. Capitol Records presents, or you know, or even like the Christmas
An Evening with Frank Sinatra. Well,
yeah, I know.
There's got to be 1,000 of those, you know.
I know, it's wild. It's like I've been listening to. I just type in Frank's on the positive side of streaming. I on Spotify I'll put like Frank Sinatra Christmas, and then all these Christmas songs come on. A lot of them I never even heard of before, but they're good, so they're new to me, you know. And I'll look and I'm like, oh, that song came out in 1975, you know.
They told me,
yeah, no, but it's like beyond that. Like he has a song like the Christmas Waltz, or some song about baby Angela or something, and you know, I don't know.
Donde Este Santa Claus? Has that come up yet?
No.
The great Augie Rio.
We were. I just got back.
That song is awesome. You gotta give it a listen sometime. It sounds like about a 6-year-old kid singing this song called, you know, basically "Mom, Where is Santa Claus?" And you know, I know that I'm supposed to be asleep, but it's hard to sleep because I know he's on his way.
Oh, what's the name of that song?
It's called Donde Este Santa Claus. It's in English for the most part, but it's just a funny little song about a little Spanish kid.
That's cool.
Waiting for Santa Claus, and the kid can sing. He has like real pipes and belts it out. It's pretty great.
How about that one hippopotamus song? Remember that one about all I want for Christmas is a hippopotamus?
Very similar to that, but it's the same style of song as that, you know. But yeah, that song's great. I want a hippopotamus for Christmas.
Oh, and isn't there like an Italian one about a donkey?
Probably.
A donkey, like a Christmas donkey song or something?
I've never heard it, but I'm sure there is.
Here, let me Google real quick. I'm gonna type in Christmas donkey
People
song.
Absolutely love it when you Google.
They love it. They're like,
that is their favorite thing. All the listeners are on the edge of their seats every time you're Googling.
Okay, it's called Dominic the Donkey. Dominic the Donkey.
You might be sending people down a real dark path on the internet. Having them search for Dominic the Donkey.
You guys go out there and search for it. It's written by Ray Allen.
It's probably just under Dom the Donkey.
yeah. Dominic the Donkey. Okay, I'll stop Googling right now. Boom, there we're done. So yeah, I was in Reno this weekend. I'm glad to be back. I'm back in Los Angeles, Southern California.
The biggest little city in the world.
Yeah, Fraser Smith was with me. It was great, man. He hosted the shows. Brian Swinehart
is the king of Reno.
He is so funny, man. He goes, Reno, Nevada. What is it? The biggest little city in the world? He's like, that's like me saying I have the biggest little dick on the planet. Like, come on, guys. I once shot a man in Reno, and before he's like, thanks for getting me out of Reno. He's like, I Googled what to do in Reno. It said, go an hour later to Lake Tahoe. Come on, guys. He has a joke like his jokes are.
Wait, isn't that your real name, Kid Tahoe?
Yeah, no, my real name is Tahoe Joe.
Tahoe Joe, that's what it is.
Tahoe Joe.
You're just like an hour outside of your town.
Exactly. I know.
Kid Reno. I like Kid Reno just as much.
Oh, that's good. Tahoe Joe and Kid Reno.
Yeah.
They ride again.
Maybe Fraser can be Kid Reno, you know.
It was hilarious because we were at the airport and we were cracking him up and stuff. And then I go, hey, Fraser, come over here. And then at one point, the lady, she goes, is that your dad? And Fraser was like, oh. He's like, you know. And I think it's because I had a baseball cap on, so it probably made me look younger.
Yeah. Is that you guys are one of those weird Big Brother programs that
Yeah.
just goes on too long?
It's like, take me to
You know what movie was shot in Reno? Uh,
Kingpin.
well, yeah, that too. But the one that I'm thinking of is the 1980s classic video game movie, The Wizard,
Oh,
which was basically an hour and a half long Nintendo commercial.
oh my gosh.
It was just uh, about this kid who kind of sucked at everything else in life, but was amazing at Nintendo games. And so his brother, like, kind of kidnaps him and goes on a road trip with him
Wow.
to this Nintendo tournament that's being held in Reno. And Reno, they changed the sign from the biggest little city in the world to the video game capital of the world.
Oh.
And in that movie, they introduce new Nintendo equipment. Like the villain of the movie is like a teenage bully kid, and this other kid, he's like, I'm gonna beat you at this Nintendo game, and he goes, Paul, get my equipment, and this other kid comes out with a velvet case and opens it up, and inside it is the brand new Nintendo Power Glove,
Wow.
which was terrible. They were awful pieces of equipment. Like most kids knew just from looking at it, they're like, "Oh, I don't want that thing." But the few kids that got them were like, "Oh, this is the worst thing." That it was supposed to make controlling your Nintendo games easier, but it was just awful.
Oh, yeah, it sounds good. It sounds like you'd have like this Michael Jackson like power glove, like hee hee, and then move it around, and your character would move it. I guess it wasn't exactly accurate, eh?
No, yeah, and it had like a wrist computer on it that was just janky and yeah, just awful. It looked kind of cool. It looked like a Nintendo Entertainment System had possessed your hand. You know, it would be worth Googling the Power Glove since you're in such a Googling fury. But it's it's a terrible device. But the movie itself was just ridiculous.
You know, it was interesting living in a casino for 4 days. It's very, very exciting the first day or two, and then it really wears on you by the last day. Like,
Yeah.
you know, like the first, because it was awesome. We were at the Silver Legacy, and it's connected to Circus, and the gosh, I forget the name of the other one, but there's another casino, and it's exciting. You're walking around. There's all the lights, the music, the different restaurants, and plus they give you like meal vouchers, so you have like, you're eating basically for free, and then what happens at the cafe that we go to in the Silver Legacy is starting at 4 p.m. They have an Asian menu so it's like Bob's Big Boy. Then boom, all of a sudden you could have Bob's Big Boy type, diner food and also Asian food. They have an Asian menu that goes from 4 to midnight.
Is it an Asian Bob's Big Boy at that point?
Pretty much, it really is because it's so wildly popular and.
Bob-Lasan's.
Exactly, I know. His outfit changes the whole thing, He's like, instead of holding a hamburger, he's like, here's some chopsticks and some orange chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was great, man. I had like this thing called Legacy Fried Rice where it's like, delicious.
Oh, God.
Oh, gosh, it was so good. Fried rice, like piled up. It was probably like 2 servings. And then they had like everything you could imagine, like pork, chicken, shrimp.
Meat.
It was so good.
Was beef in there anywhere?
Beef, yes. Beef was in there. It was all in there. Like the whole thing. Yeah, you name it, it's in there.
The very popular American Chinese food franchise, the one that has the panda for a logo.
Panda Express?
Yeah, they do a dish now that most people, when they look at, they're like, I don't want that stuff. But if you bring it to a party, it's the first thing gone. It's called Beijing Beef.
Oh.
And it's basically their orange chicken, but done with beef. And
oh, wow.
It's pretty good. It's worth getting if you're ever happen to be near one.
I'll try it.
And they're almost always like, oh, you have to wait because someone just ordered all of it.
Oh, wow. Have you ever had walnut shrimp?
I'm not a seafood guy at all.
Oh, that's right.
It looks really good, but I don't do that.
Yeah, I had it for the first time about 10 years ago, and I'm like, this is amazing. But I could see it. I think it's super duper high calorie, and so I'm like, I don't want to make a habit of it. But I was like, the first time I had it, I was like, it's like orange chicken, but it's like shrimp, and it's with walnuts and like some sort of mayonnaise type of thing. I don't know. It's delicious. I'll tell you that much. Some kind of cream. It's so good.
Mayonnaise.
Yeah, it's probably not mayonnaise. It's probably not. Maybe the Bob's Big Boy Chinese food version is, but
the ancient Chinese recipe. Orange, ginger, and mayonnaise.
Yeah, and some gravy. Yeah.
Like, it might be Miracle Whip that they're using.
Oh, gross. I rather just have mayonnaise.
Not technically mayonnaise, but I forgot you're like a real big mayonnaise guy.
Yeah, I like I do. I love mayonnaise. I remember when I was a kid, I used to make, they always make fun of these kids that have mayonnaise sandwiches. I'm like, oh, that was me. I remember like we'd have dinner.
Wait, no.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have just mayonnaise.
No, here's what I would do. I would take a pickle and I'd slice up the pickle. And so I'd have like some white bread, mayonnaise, and then the pickles all inside of, on top of it. And then I'd take the other bread that was covered with mayonnaise and I'd put it on top. And then I would cut it in half, sometimes even into triangles. And it was delicious.
Damn it.
Yeah, it was delicious. Maybe at 15, 16. I don't know as an adult. I have not done it since then, but back then it was my...
That is the most hardcore sandwich I've ever heard of. And not in a good way. That's like what a terrible sandwich.
Oh my gosh, I know. Like yeah.
There are people on the streets right now that have to eat that sandwich.
Yeah.
But nobody's looking forward to it. Nobody's like, oh, I can't wait to have a mayonnaise sandwich with pickles.
You know what else I like? I like fried, like if I'm going to get the chicken fried rice, I like it with ketchup. I like putting a little squirt of ketchup.
Now you're going to gross everyone out.
You're not. Do you like ketchup?
I like ketchup on normal like French fries and burgers and stuff, but not on Chinese food.
It's so good. It's so good.
No, it isn't. You're not right.
I remember you noticed.
The closest thing to ketchup that you should put on that is sriracha.
Oh, I did that too. I'd do a little sriracha over here, a little ketchup over there.
And people are dry heaving that are listening right now.
And
we are bleeding listeners.
How did you like when I was eating my breakfast burrito and I was adding ketchup to it?
That grossed me out so much that I was like, if we were on a date, I would never call that guy again.
You're like, this is the last one. I'm out of here.
I would burn his number.
You're like, we're going to have separate booths.
If I were a girl, I would not only get rid of your number, I would call all my ex-boyfriends to beat you up. Just for subjecting me to that.
See, I would think that would be normal. You don't put ketchup on eggs and stuff? No, you don't.
Oh, that sounds so gross. Visually already, it's so unsettling.
Yeah.
But the fact, what really weirds people out is your enjoyment of it.
Yeah, and also asking the waitress for more ketchup
on this burrito. If you did that in front of like a Mexican family, they would shield the kids from it, and they'd be like, no. Why do you do this? And they'd probably stab you, and they'd be right to do it.
Yeah.
Like, you're ruining our culture.
You know how you realize, like, maybe you don't, but when you hang around other people, they start noticing things about you.
Yeah.
Like, you notice that I like ketchup, because I guess when I would go to the diners,
you don't have to be a master detective to figure out that you like ketchup.
You just have to sit across the table from me.
Yeah, any meal, someone's going to notice. It's like when you start putting it in your Coke, It's
Oh, I
like,
wouldn't
oh,
do
that guy
that.
really likes ketchup.
Yeah. Well, no, I would mainly, use it on breakfast items or Chinese food. But anyways,
And I have to say, and this isn't meant to be offensive, but it's gonna be offensive. But I don't care. The fact that you're a redhead
I know. I
that
know.
has an unapologetic glee every time he has ketchup is really disturbing.
It's funny because one of the first things I do when we sit down is I lift up the ketchup. I found myself doing this at the casino. I lift up the ketchup bottle, and a lot of times they're empty. So then I run around to other tables till I find a full one. Then I exchange it. Then I go back to our table. Hey guys, we're good now.
You running around like a little gremlin hamburglar ketchup thief in the middle of I'm surprised nobody shot you, like
And
the security guards or whatever.
like the Johnny Cash song.
We don't know what the hell he's up to.
Is he bleeding or is that ketchup leaking out?
Yeah.
So, yeah, and here's another
If
thing.
I saw some psycho doing that in a restaurant, I'd be like, get him out of here. Call the manager. Have this guy removed.
Here's another thing I noticed. I guess I didn't even notice it. Fraser noticed it, and it was kind of like the running joke. But it was like an inside joke between him and Brian. But I picked up on it real quick. Was apparently I like. I always think I'm doing the right thing because I like paper napkins. And so when the waitress comes over and says, "Hi, well, hi guys, how can I get your order? Can I get some drinks?" I don't want them running around back and forth doing a bunch of like errands and stuff. So I'm like, yes, I would like a black coffee, letting them know like I don't need cream, I don't need sugar, just coffee black. I would like a water with a straw, please, and also paper napkins. Thank you.
And that became an inside joke to Fraser.
Yeah, because apparently, like I like paper napkins. Like I don't, because I don't want them to like come to the table. Oh, can we have some more napkins? And then they forget. And then they come back again. Oh, I forgot to get your napkin. Like the whole thing. So I just put it right off.
I get that way about like I like Tabasco or like at the Bob's Big Boy where we eat all the time. They have a really great seasoning salt, but they don't have it on tables all the time. And so I'll ask for those things too, and like try and make it where I'll ask for all the stuff I want right off the bat, so that they only have to make one trip. You're right.
Yeah.
But a lot of people think, "Oh, that guy's dick. He's real demanding." It's like, no, I just know exactly what I want, and I don't want to make them run around all over the place each time I realize it. Because I see friends that do that, and it's so obnoxious when they're like, "Oh, you know what? I really would like another fork for my salad and stuff." Just
say it all. Exactly. Just put it all out there.
Tell it all at once. Yeah.
So that was. Oh, by the way, I looked up. I want to play a game with you now. If you're ready, do you have your thinking cap on? Let's play a game. Okay. So I like looking up, and I thought about this weekend. Sometimes I'll hear a phrase like a certain idiom, and I'm like, where did that come from? Like, how did that come about? And then I like doing a little research. So let's see if you have your wildest guess, okay? Or let's see if you can guess where this comes from. Here we go. Armed to the teeth.
I assumed it was just like a joke of extremity of like, someone's so covered in weaponry that it looks like, they're even using their mouth to hold extra weapons and stuff.
Very good, very good. Yeah, it was they think it came from the 17th century pirates, and they say that they tended to keep a gun in their pocket and they held a knife in their teeth.
Yeah, you would see that in old pirate movies. I don't know if they did it in the Pirates of the Caribbean, but I vividly remember seeing images, and it seemed like a practical thing to do, like of pirates climbing aboard other ships.
Oh yeah,
with a knife in their mouth. It seemed practical, but also very, very dangerous. Like, if you fall with a knife in your mouth, you're going to get what they used to call I think it was called a Charleston smile.
Ooh.
Where like people would do this like in gangs and stuff, particularly in like I think in Ireland and Scotland, where if they were mad at another gang or they caught like a gang member off by himself, they would cut the sides of his mouth, and it's real hard to heal. And so they would get like, they would have this Joker-like smile.
Wow. Look at Mike Black coming up with some history. That's interesting.
There was in fact, that goes back even farther, where it was a type of punishment. Like the book, the Victor Hugo novel, The Man Who Laughs, is about a guy who was, back then, if your father did a crime and they didn't catch him, but they caught you, you could be punished for it. And this guy was royalty, and his dad was beheaded, but they were still like, we're still mad. So they gave him one of those.
Wow.
And he had to go be a circus freak. But he was like royalty, and later there was a coup and he became royal again, but he still had that messed up smile.
I Googled Charleston smile, and it just took me to a bunch of dentist offices out in Charleston.
Okay.
That's hilarious.
But Google The Man Who Laughs.
Oh my gosh. I believe it.
They made a silent film about it, and the actor who played him had this very difficult challenge, because they didn't have really good makeup back then, of having to keep a smile on his face and do all these other emotions and convey them in a silent film, like crying and stuff like that. But his image was so unsettling that the guy who created Batman, Bob Kane, saw that, and it kind of inspired the Joker also. Wow. They say him and Jerry Robinson, who worked for him, saw the movie and both kind of came up with that character. You know, but if you look at the image, it looks like the Joker, but in a black and white. It's like he time traveled back to do a silent film.
Wow, I'll have to check that out, because you're right, that whole Joker image, I can picture that. We can all picture that if we've ever seen the Joker.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's like also like the scariest looking version of the Joker. But it's.
Where do you think the phrase "bite the bullet" comes from?
I assume getting shot in the face.
No, it's apparently, according to the source that I read, it's when the doctor would do the surgery on you to if they didn't have any thing to kill the pain, anesthesia, they would say, "Bite this bullet to take your mind off of the pain. Bite hard down on the bullet."
That seems like, again, real dangerous. You know,
exactly.
Like unnecessarily dangerous.
Somehow you're biting on this bullet and the thing takes out, bing, and it shoots a surgeon. It's like, okay, how about break the ice?
Self in the head.
Yeah, I know. Break the ice. Do you know break the ice?
Wait.
Oh.
Well, let's go back to that, because that reminded me of. Did you ever read the Tom Sawyer books?
Yeah, I did.
Do you remember how they did when he had a sore tooth? How they pulled it out?
Tied around the doorknob and then slammed the door.
Yeah, they tied one end of string around a doorknob, the other end around his tooth, and then I think his brother or cousin, someone who didn't really like him that much, got to hold a hot stick or a hot poker in front of him, so he couldn't escape. He couldn't go forward or anything.
Yeah.
And then they slammed the door, and it literally yanked the tooth out of his head.
Wow.
That's frontier medicine. That's why the average person back then lived to about 30.
Hey, maybe we could open up our own doctor's office and call it Frontier Medicine.
Yeah, that's not a good idea.
And we come up with all these ideas like, step right up and bite the bullet.
Yeah. Almost half the medicine involved hot pokers at that time.
Oh, okay. Back on that topic of, I was going to go, we'll jump back to break the ice, but another one, I was going to skip this one, but a basket case. Ever heard the phrase basket case?
Yeah. Now, I've always heard it to describe someone who's crazy.
That's what I think. Yeah.
But I think it initially probably came from someone being an orphan, like left in a basket on someone's front step.
Yeah, the definition is correct. A person considered useless or not able to cope. However, the origin, they believe, is when soldiers would lose a limb, and possibly originated in 1919 when rumors circulated that limbs or decapitated soldiers arrived in baskets at hospitals.
Ugh.
Yeah, I know, right? It's kind of gross. And then this major named General M.W. Ireland was the first to refer to these as basket cases in his bulletin to express they had not seen the said baskets.
Yeah, because that sounds...
Yeah.
It sounds like he was just crushing that rumor, because what kind of psychopath is...
Yeah.
Back then, they couldn't reattach things.
Oh.
So why would you send it to the hospital? That just makes no sense.
Bury the hatchet. Bury the hatchet.
Well, I know it's a term for, trying to reach some sort of peaceful agreement with someone else. So my guess is at the time that it came about, it was a symbolic gesture of laying down weapons with each other.
Correct. It said long ago when the Puritans were fighting with the Native Americans had a tradition of burying their hatchets, clubs, tomahawks, and knives during peace negotiations. The act of burying the weapons and making them inaccessible was their sign for peace.
Oh, that's cool. It clearly backfired horribly.
Yeah.
But that's a very cool gesture.
Yeah, I like that. It is, right? Like, hey guys, let's just have some peace, and then you'd have to really trust the people that you're going to be talking to, that they're not going to not bury their weapons.
Yeah, and that clearly did not work.
Okay, what about this? Mad as a Hatter.
Oh, I actually know this.
Oh, okay, cool.
I at least think I do.
Yeah. You might know it because this thing that I'm looking up has a different answer. That's one thing as I've been studying idioms, different places have different definitions.
I guess around the time that Lewis Carroll was writing Alice in Wonderland and he wrote the character of the Mad Hatter, there had been a history of a lot of people who make hats at they would own shops called haberdasheries. And in those shops, they would use a lot of lead.
Dude, you're really close. You have this almost 100%. Mercury.
Mercury,
yes.
Yeah. Mercury and lead. And it would slowly drive them insane.
Yeah, that's right. You got it. The poisoning resulted in irritability, shyness, tremors, all of which remain, Mad Hatter's disease.
Yeah, and mercury now is considered so toxic that when I was in high school in the 90s, someone broke a mercury thermometer and they cleared out the school and had a hazmat team come in and gather up all the mercury, because it's not easy to clean up either, because it's basically liquid metal that when you touch it, it separates into little balls and rolls off.
Wow.
And but I remember a friend of mine, his dad was like, oh, when we were kids, mercury wasn't that big a deal. He was like, we would break thermometers and throw the metal at each other, and he was like, I would put it on my tongue and like balance it around and stuff. I was like, oh God, but
oh yeah, I know. I was talking to this older guy that when I worked in Indiana, the guy that hosted the show was this older comedian, and he was telling us, like, back in the day they used to I don't know what it was, like there's some kind of trucks would like spray something that would kill the mosquitoes, and the kids would run behind the truck and like chase after it and play out there in the mist of this poison that would kill the mosquitoes.
It is so crazy what people didn't know about different stuff. And what's funny is a lot of that stuff, people think, oh, well, they must have just died instantly. And a lot of those people are still alive today and they're doing just fine. Yeah. But like, they did all this stuff, ate bacon at every meal and smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day and, drank whiskey every morning, since they were like 9 years old, and they're like 105 now and still kicking, Meanwhile, their friends that did all the healthiest stuff, are in the ground, you know.
Right. Oh yeah, break the ice. Any idea where that comes from?
Just the idea of it being cold between people or at a party or something like that. And
Well, one of the definitions they said is during a time when roads weren't fully developed, ships were the main means of transportation and trade. So during the winter, these ships might get stuck on ice that formed on lakes and other bodies of water. Then the country or wherever they were going would send their little ships and stuff out there to kind of break the ice to let them come all the way through. So that's what the gesture has come to mean an invitation of friendship between the sending and the receiving countries.
Oh, that's cool.
Break
I know
the
that
ice.
some ships used to have actual ice breakers on the front of them.
Yeah, because I also read another definition where it said what you had described, where hey, let's break the ice, let's break bread, let's get together, take the have a cocktail or whatever, have a drink, we break the ice, clink, that whole kind of thing. So, oh, this was interesting. Fly off the handle.
I don't know specifically, but it means like going off on somebody.
Yeah, to become suddenly enraged.
Yeah, and I think it comes from the idea of like swinging an axe and the blade flying off the handle.
Yeah, they said that they were so poorly made back in the day, these axes, that when axes, sometimes when they were swung, the axe head would come flying off the handle.
Yeah, which is a bad thing and an unintended consequence,
Yeah. I mean, you just don't. I remember one time my dad was chopping wood and he was like, hey, don't stand there. This thing you never know. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right. Like, right. You might not want to stand in front watching, hey, look at this,
Yeah, gotta get lobotomized by it,
You ever heard of riding shotgun?
That one is pretty obvious. It's stagecoach era.
Yep.
Protecting the stagecoach, you'd at least ideally have someone sitting next to the driver to protect them from thieves and gangs and stuff.
Here's one skeleton in the closet.
I imagine that it's a lot of stupider criminals when they murdered someone would try and hide them in the closet, forgetting how bad that's going to smell and what have you,
Apparently it's from grave robbers, and what they would do is they would supply skeletons to medical schools. But when a raid occurred, the teacher tended to hide these skeletons in the closet so they would not have them confiscated.
A genius plan.
Okay, here's the last one. Turn a blind eye.
Oh, well, yeah, that's just, we're not going to look that direction.
Mm-hmm.
Or act like we didn't see whatever was going on over there.
Yeah, apparently there was this...
When the doctor's loading up skeletons and the security guard sees him, and he's like, I'm just going to pretend I didn't see that.
Yeah, there was like some admiral, and I guess like the enemy was waving the white flag, like, we surrender, we don't want to fight anymore. And then he held up the telescope to his blind eye and was like, I didn't see it. You guys, I clearly didn't see it. I didn't see it. But he held it up to his blind eye. He turned the blind eye.
That's much worse.
Yeah, I know, right?
I'm just going to kill all these people. I don't care.
What are you talking about, huh? I turned a blind eye. But yeah, man, I had fun in Reno. It was great. We did 6 shows. And there's something nice about being... You know what I mean? You're right there at the hotel. You hop on the elevator. You go downstairs, and there's the showroom. There's like that's what I love about performing in casinos. And then the audience comes to you, and you're plastered all over your billboards are all over the casino, and it's really cool, man. It was very. There's only
you're kind of like the big celebrity there for the week,
Yeah, and then it was cool. There was a guy that came by himself on Sunday night. He was totally alone, right? Like he was in the middle of the room with empty tables around him, like empty. Empty chairs around him. And I connected with him. I'm like, hey, how you doing? Da, da, da. And he goes, I'm just out. He was kind of weird. He's like, in a good way though. If he's listening, shout out to Kevin. His name was Kevin. He goes, I'm just here for some Sunday night entertainment. And I thought that is so cool. Like I mean? Usually when a person can go to something alone and have a good time, turns out he's a huge comedy fan. Like we were talking afterwards. He knew comedians that mostly comedians know. Like he didn't just name like, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock. He was naming like, me exactly. He named
Jay London.
Yeah, he said, yeah, exactly. He said I was in his top. I guess I go, who's in your top 5? And he goes, well, Darren Carter. And then he knew like I don't know. It was really cool. And apparently he'd seen me at Rooster Teeth Feathers a few times out in Sunnyvale. But
that's really cool.
It was really cool, man. It was all the shows were great. There was only one show that was a little odd, and that was like the early show on a Friday, which was like I don't know, man. It made an odd show. Like those. Thankfully we've all done enough shows to where we know, like, okay, that was a weird one. I can only imagine if it was your first year in comedy, you might take it so personal, but you realize, I'm sorry, there is, the whole thing about there's never a bad crowd. That crowd was they were bad, man. They might have been good. Some of them actually came back on Sunday because they said that they knew they wanted to enjoy the show and they just felt like that crowd was so bad that it ruined their experience.
Oh, that's nice that they were aware of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be really, really rough. Now, I did a show. I'll give you the most condensed version I can of it, where through a weird sort of misunderstanding, the host of the show walked the audience. Like the whole audience left.
Wow.
And this was a little show I was producing in Santa Monica. And so the whole audience is gone. And I'm telling the other comics, I'm like, oh, sorry, guys, it looks like we're not going to have a show tonight. It's, big misunderstanding. And we hear this voice in the darkness go, I'll stay. And we go, what? And we look, and there's a guy still there in the back. And he goes, I'll stay and watch you guys. And we were like, oh, sir, you don't have to do that. He goes, I don't mind. I love comedy. I'll stay and watch. And we're like, it'd be real weird for you. You'd feel like you had to laugh. You don't want to. Let us give you free tickets. We'll get your email anytime you want to come back. You can bring as many friends as you like, and you're all set. We'll take care of you for sure. He was like, he goes, I really don't mind. And we're like, no, it'd be very weird for everyone involved. So just make sure and give us your contact stuff. And he was like, oh, okay. And so he comes out into the light. I get a good look at him, and we get his email and everything, and he leaves. 6 months later, I am invited to a casting seminar for Comedy Central. And that guy turned out to be a casting director at Comedy Central who was he had just got 2 shows put on the air that he had cast. And I was like, that guy was basically offering all of us a private audition for him.
Wow.
But didn't want to say, I'm a casting director at Comedy Central, so do your acts, He was like, but giving us this big opportunity, and we were all just like, nah. So from then on, and I would say this to any comic out there, if there's just one person in the room and they want to see you perform, you go ahead and perform.
Right. Exactly.
Because you have no idea who it could be.
I know. You're right. That's why I think we had such a good time. Like, all the comedians were professional, and, there was no, even when, it's funny, I filmed most of the shows, and I filmed that early show Friday, and I was watching it, and I thought, as odd as it was, and as uncomfortable and weird as we thought it was, when I watched it back, I watched little moments, I'm like, oh, it's actually very enjoyable to watch. Like, and the people, they thought they were, I think they thought they were like helping or playing along. And as long as we didn't react negatively, it actually worked, In our minds, we didn't like, what I mean by that is like, Fraser does a joke where he would be like, something about the Oakland Raiders, now that they moved to Vegas. Can the Raiders fans, can they go watch them? I mean, can felons cross state lines? Like, it's jokes like that, right? And then he'll do a saver. He'll be like, I hope nobody stabs me in the parking lot. And then somebody was like, we'll stab you in the casino. You know what I mean? So when you're watching, see, now we can laugh, but when you're in the moment and someone says, "We'll stab you in the casino," you see Fraser kind of stumble like, "Okay, all right, yeah, okay." So, and then he'll just go on to his.
Yeah, I could see that being upsetting to hear.
Exactly.
You know, and we'll stab you in the parking. But, it depends. You do have to gauge the vibe of the person who said it, but I've noticed that happens about 75% of the time that comics think they're getting heckled.
Yeah.
They're actually not.
Right.
It's an audience member that loves what they're doing so much.
Yep.
And they're so involved in the moment that you've made them feel so comfortable that they think you're having a one-on-one conversation.
Yes.
And they're joking with you the way you would in a one-on-one conversation. And I see it at the Comedy Store all the time, especially like late night when people are drunk and everything, where a comic will get kind of rattled because they think, oh, this guy's really mad at me or whatever. And security will like come over to the guy and tell him to be quiet and stuff. And it's like, no, that guy was just really into it is what was going on,
Right.
And it's like, even that, you kind of want to not encourage too much because it can really throw off your timing later if you're trying to tell jokes and some guy's like, I do that,
Yeah. They're just trying to connect with you. And
you're making that up, It's like, yes, I am. All of this is made up.
I know. Like this, the second comedian, Brian Swinehart, he was trying to do a whole bit about, how he didn't like social distancing because he's trying to hook up with the ladies and it's hard to connect when they're like 6 feet away, whatever. He's trying to get into that little silly bit, right? And so he's like, I hate that word, social distancing. And then some lady interrupted him and she goes, I know what you mean. That's the worst word ever. He's like, you're right. Social distancing. I hate that word. And then some other guy was actually right, but he yelled out, actually, it's 2 words.
Yeah.
And then
it's true.
And then it's true. And then he kind of stumbled. And he went, but I think he thought he was being attacked there for a second. And he goes, but it was good though because he played it like he.
Now,
he
when the guy said that, did the audience laugh?
No, because it looked a little odd. It looked like, whoa, is this guy an asshole? Like, who's this?
He was kind of aggressive about it.
Yeah, it's actually 2 words, almost like dumbass.
Yeah.
Like, and then, but I like the way Brian played it off because he kind of turned it on himself, and he's like, well, what do I know? I went to community college. I guess you're right, sir. 2, so it is 2 for and then he kind of got himself out of it. But it was like, I was like, oh man, like I was like, is this guy? And then when I was up there,
I think it's good to look at those moments as opportunities.
Yes.
To kind of show how funny you naturally are.
To be honest with you, when that happened, that's when Brian became Brian Swinehart actually got funnier because he went from like doing his memorized act, which was getting laughs, but when he became himself and was in the moment and like responded to that guy, from then on, I think he actually got him like he turned it up. Like on a scale of 1 to 10, if his set was around a 6, all of a sudden it got up to like an 8.
Right, because you know what that does that people don't. They may not put it into words, but what is happening is it reminds people that they're at a live show.
Yeah.
And that anything could happen. And that joke that he told that night, the chances of him ever telling that specific joke again are very, very low.
Yeah.
So they feel like, oh, I got to see this private little thing between me and him that no one else is going to get to see. Like I had a night, Ted Twyman, a really great comic, used to run a show in Costa Mesa. And I was on stage, and a moth was flying around on stage.
A moth?
And it was very distracting. Like, there's no way a moth is not going to be distracting in the bright lights. And it kept flying around the spotlight. And I was like, okay. I was like, he'll leave in a minute. He's just waiting for his Uber. And, people were like laughing at that.
Yeah.
And then eventually there's like a little air conditioner right next to the stage, but it's clearly visible. And he flew into it and it spit him back out dead.
Oh man.
And so everyone was like, oh, and I was like, that moth was actually the reincarnated spirit of Selena. It naturally gravitated to the stage. It was in the spotlight for a very brief moment. And then, of course, it was killed by a really big fan.
Yeah.
And everybody just died. But, they knew, though, he can't recreate that. That's never going to happen again.
Yes, that's amazing. That's so good, Mike.
What killed them, and it turned like a mediocre sort of set into a really good one, So when people, talk about like, oh, I got heckled by so and so, it's like sometimes that's a gift, Like I'm not encouraging people to heckle, but there are people that they call it soft heckling in the business, where they're heckling but not trying to. When that happens, sometimes look at it and go, hey, this is a real opportunity to be authentically, naturally funny.
Yeah.
And the audience will give you a little more credit too, just for saying anything in a situation like that.
Yeah. Like, for example, so when I get up there was I also realized like, oh, here's a couple things happening right when I walked in, and I knew right when I walked in, Fraser was on stage, and I'm thought there's something wrong here. And number one, the room is a little too. It was so cold up there that they turned, and then people. It was like in the 30s in Reno at night, and then it got even down to 15. So I think what happened.
People forget that it's the desert, and the desert gets freezing cold at night.
Right, and it's the desert, and the mountains, and the whole. I mean, so what happens is people have like these heavy winter coats, and there was a snowstorm, and so they have their coats on, but they're still cold. And then the casino and the showroom, they'd crank the heat up a little too hot. So I noticed it right when I walked in. You know what I mean? People are sitting there, and because they were just quiet, and then Fraser, he kills, and it's like, and I was like, man, they're like, they need something's wrong here. So I asked the guy. Yeah. And he was really cool about it. Shout out to Brandon. I said, "Can we turn it's just a little too hot in here, too warm, too cozy. It's too cozy. That's what the word is."
Yeah.
So
people start falling asleep.
Yeah, it was that. So he turned the heat down so the cold air would kind of kick in a little bit, colder air, and also they were spaced out, like the way they had seated them. I don't know, for whatever reason I don't know, people seated themselves or what. I don't know. Like they were. I was like, we need to get them a little closer together.
They're like, it looks fuller if we separate them a lot. No, don't do that.
And then there was a couple of ladies in the front row. I think they had special needs, and they would laugh, and unique laughs, and they would also laugh like on the setups of jokes. So And then when they would laugh with their unique laughs, people would come. Sometimes they would pull focus, and they would look at them, and you know what I mean. So there was a lot of factors going on. And then you had the guy that was correcting people. That's 2 words, and then a lot of strange things. There was a lot of strange things in that show, but it kind of came together. And for example, and then so I get up there, and the first thing I did is I asked the showroom manager if I could move, if people can come closer or do they have to sit with it? They're like, yeah, they can sit wherever they want. And I'm like, okay, cool. So the first thing I did is I go, you guys, everyone come forward. So I got people to come forward, and I go, for the next 30 seconds, come closer to the stage. Let's do this. Come down. She's coming down. She's moving. Come on, buddy. And then, so I got people to come closer. So that helped.
Nice.
That helped. And then when what I was going to say is how they were odd with me is I like to do the, and I usually do it towards the end, but this time I was like, I'm just going to put it in the middle. And I did I like my women.
Yeah.
And what I usually do is I'll do a couple of examples. Like, I like my women like I like my shoes, no strings attached. And then the next one, I like my women like I like my elevator going down.
Right.
But with a weight limit. So, and then I go, you guys yell out something. So sometimes, they'll yell out, they're ready to do it. They're like, car, beer, and then they'll get crazy with it. Like they'll try to stump me, computer or whatever. This is how odd the crowd was, Mike. I go, I like my women like I like my, and the first thing they yelled out was shoes. And and I, and that's happening every now and then, but not usual. And it was
Did you just throw the mic on the ground? I quit.
Well, it was great to watch that moment on camera because when I went to my room and watched it, I'm like, oh, I like the way I handled it. In my mind, I was irritated and pissed off, but on my face, it looked funny. It looked like the substitute teacher who was like, guys, this is I should have
trying to do a comedy show.
I should have done a different career. This is like it read really. I was like, okay, this is not. They're not seeing how like irritable.
The potential of the bit.
It looked comedic. It looked comedically irritable and angry, but not like how I really felt.
Right.
So I go. We literally just did shoes, and then I go, guys, there's a million things you could say. You could say anything other than shoes. And so, dude, guess what they said next? I go, I like my women like I like my, and then some other guy goes, elevator. Which was this?
I thought you were going to say sandals.
Oh, that's funny. Sandals. Yeah, because I already said shoes. And then the guy goes, pick the second.
Let's move away from feet altogether. Let's just.
Yeah. So then the other person, there's someone else yelled elevator, which was the other example I gave. And
right.
And for some reason, when I looked at it on camera, I go, that actually looks really funny that they said that. And then I was like, are you kidding me?
Oh yeah, that's a great promo clip.
I think I'm going to use it. And then I kind of made fun of them. I go, what's next? Is someone going to go elevator shoes? Or something.
That's a great joke.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, at least I think it is. It was such an.
And now, like when you get like a really good audience, you can go, you guys are a lot better than the audience I had this one time.
Yeah.
And then you tell that story.
Oh, that's right.
I guarantee that'll get a laugh. Especially if you end on elevator shoes.
Oh my gosh, you're right. That's so funny. Like they, it's
so
funny.
You see what I mean? It's like it can be a huge gift to get something like that.
Yeah, we were all grumbling about how bad that show was, and then I look back at some of our sets. I go, they were actually really, there was some gold in there, you guys. Like, believe it or not, you're right. It's like, and then of course the second show was a normal show, and we're like, thank God. But I think that happens with that. What we were talking about, having a positive mindset, like it really does help our comedy.
Yeah. Like I do a bit that's become strong enough that it's a closer now every now and again.
Nice.
Where I talk about dating someone who's smarter than you are and just how tough that is to do. And then
I love that. Yeah.
If I see a lot of couples in the room, I'll go, heck, let's do a little poll. By round of applause, who here is dating someone that's smarter than they are? And it inevitably starts this kind of friction with the couples where, like, some of them, neither of them will clap, and they'll just look at each other like, shouldn't you be clapping right now?
Yeah.
And some of the guys will start clapping immediately because they know they're like, it doesn't matter. I just want peace in the house, so I'm just going to clap.
Yeah.
I'm just going to take the hit on this one,
Yeah.
And but I did that a couple of times, and very quickly into doing that bit, I had a night where I asked that question, and someone in the audience raised their hand. And so, I don't like to be mean to people if I can help it.
Yeah, because you're like, by a round of applause, anyone here? So you expect them to clap, and then someone's like,
Someone raised their hand, and so I just said, okay, I'm not going to point anyone out, but some interesting things happened in the room. There were some stalemates, and there were some, some people clapped right away.
Yeah.
But I asked for a round of applause, and in a dark room, somebody raised their hand instead. And a few people laugh right away, and I go, pretty much proving they're not the brains of the outfit,
Yeah.
and it gets a big laugh. And it happens almost every show. But on the shows that it doesn't happen, I just say, you guys are a lot smarter than some of the crowds I had where we had a guy who did this, And
That's
so
good.
It's like, a lot of these things that are once in a performer's life experiences, you can just tell the story of that experience and make that kind of a bit.
That's true. You're right. That's another thing that I found myself. I think it was on that show where I almost had to train the audience, like, because I remember asking a question And then the whole back row raised their hand, and I had to explain, like, we work off energy, you guys, like, so please clap, and and the one guy like took one hand and like pounded the table, like, and I go, even that works, that's good, thank you, you're the energy, we like an audible energy,
He's trying his best, he's doing something,
I'm like, this ain't night school, we're not like in college, like, present, it's like,
right, yeah,
that energy, it's
yeah, you need that audible sort of thing,
By the way, I did not go to the Comedy Store on Monday. I was just so tired, man, from doing those 6 shows, and then I have more shows coming up this week. But when we go down on Mondays, if you ever want to go down, I was thinking about this, because we're paid regulars. We can do a Monday night. If you're available and you want to do it, I can film you. You know what I mean? Because I know you. Oh. We were talking about that. Like,
man, it's almost like I'm cursed to not get a good film. I did a toy drive for the Armenian Council of Burbank.
Oh yeah, how'd that go?
It was a lot of fun. They had a great crowd. They got a whole lot of toys for kids.
That's awesome.
The audience was terrific. The venue was really nice. But I told a lady, it was just a random lady who happened to be there. I was like,
yeah,
there's no pressure, but I would love it if you would just film me on stage. I was like, I probably won't even use it. It's just for research, really.
Yeah.
But if you could get a few shots that are kind of wide of the crowd, that would be great. And she didn't fully understand what I meant.
Oh, no.
And so the entire tape, bless her for trying her best, was it would be me for a second, and then she would pan over to the audience real quick, and then back to me, and then back to the audience, and then back to, and it was like that the entire 10 minutes.
Like a tennis match. You're going left to right.
Good for her. But, and she really was doing what I instructed her to do, so it was not her fault at all. But when she would pan to the audience, she would go all the way to the back, and there was one guy at a table by himself who was just not having it. He was just miserable. He was thinking about something else.
Yeah.
And so it went from me on stage telling jokes and there's a whole audience laughing to this miserable guy, then back to me, then back to miserable guy, and then back to it. And I was like, this is so terrible. But on top of that, they had like a DJ light set up. And so it wasn't really me on the tape. I was so washed out by how bright the lights were, and I'm wearing a black shirt, that it looked like the Invisible Man was doing stand-up.
I know. Oh,
there's just this floating shirt and a floating microphone, and then it cuts to this miserable guy every now and again. And I'm like, this might be the worst tape I've ever gotten.
I think we can
a lot.
I know. I think I finally have my system down now. I think I'm serious. I don't want to build it up too much, but I think I finally have it down where you can get a good 10-minute, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I got the exposure, all the levels. I think I finally have it down to where, because I'm also super pale, so it's like
right.
That
yeah.
also
so,
like
it's trouble.
It's
and
trouble.
Like, a way you can, I don't know how to do it, but on an iPhone, there's a little like sun symbol.
Yeah, and then you kind of drag it and bring it down. You
can drag it down and it'll adjust the light, but only for like 10 seconds, and then it goes, no, he doesn't really want that. He wants it super bright again,
Yeah, you're supposed to like somehow bring it down and then lock it in, but you're right. I was able to do it.
To lock it in. That's the problem.
I know.
I get halfway. If any of you listeners know, by all means, send us any info that would help with that.
I had from a couple of weeks ago, I followed Jeff Ross, and I'm not even kidding, dude. We already look a lot alike, but especially on this thing, because we were both overexposed. We look like white ghosts up there, and we look a lot alike, except he's a little bit heavier than I am. And even when I put it on the computer, my wife saw it, and she thought that was me. She goes, "Oh my God!" And I go, "No, that's Jeff Ross." And then she goes, "Oh my gosh!" She goes, and then he had walked off stage, and then he went back up, and then Fraser had handed him his jacket, and then even in that moment, she goes, "Oh my God!" She goes, "Again, I thought that was Fraser handing you your like props or something, or your T-shirts." and then I go up there because I follow Jeff Ross. It looks really funny. I think I'm going to post it because it's like Jeff, Fraser, and then Fraser bringing me up, And then it looks like it look, and I even did the joke about how many people think Jeff was just. I'm Jeff, and I just came back up on stage, whatever. But it looks so much.
It looks like the start of a weird magic trick or something.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, and it was just like, so I was like, I got to figure out this exposure thing because it doesn't look good. Where it's like,
did you ever see The Prestige?
No.
Oh, you've never seen that movie?
No, I don't even know what it is.
Every performer should see this movie.
What's it called?
It's called The Prestige. It was directed by Christopher Nolan.
The Prestige?
Based on a book called The Prestige. And it's about two rival magicians that literally go to any lengths to outdo each other. And like one of them is a really good showman. Oh, wow. And so it's all flash and no substance. And the other one is like a legit workhorse magician who's just trying to come up with the best illusion he can come up with, and they go so far as to enlist Nikola Tesla, the inventor of the time, and they're like, can you help me do this amazing trick? And Tesla is played by David Bowie, but the movie stars, the two magicians are Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale.
Oh, I looked it up. Like Michael Caine is in this movie. You already know it's going to be good.
I think Scarlett Johansson is in it too. Yeah. And it's a tremendous movie, but it's all about like the lengths people will go as performers to hone their craft or to be the best at their craft. And anyone in any sort of performing arts would enjoy that movie. I think you and Austin should watch it.
Yeah, I remember we watched some funny magician movie. Was Jim Carrey in it? The Wonder.
Oh yeah, Burt Wonderstone.
Yeah.
Funny as a stretch. It was a movie.
It was a movie. You're right. I only saw it once, but I remember there was probably
they aimed for funny. But,
there must have been some funny moments in it, maybe.
I don't know if there were.
I don't even remember it.
I remember they on the legally it counts as a comedy. They told jokes.
Yeah. I couldn't even.
So it was just not the best movie.
Yeah, I can't tell you one thing about it, and I just remember I was like comedy, magic. I don't even remember. But.
Well, they say though, nobody sets out to make a bad movie.
That's true.
Except whoever made that one.
Gosh. Yeah.
Clearly,
they were like
they were trying to make a bad movie.
Yeah.
Because it had Jim Carrey and. From The Office, and Michael Scott.
Yeah,
I forget his real name right now, but it was just maybe I was in a bad mood, but I don't think it made a lot of money either when it came out. So I don't think it's just me. I think the universe decided that movie's not funny.
I forget what I liked about it. Did I even like it? I don't know. I just remember it was on. And it was like
I bet you didn't. I bet if you go back and look at it, you're like, oh yeah, I didn't care for this that much.
Yeah, I was like, I do remember that it was. We did not see it in a theater. It was. I remember it was during the holidays. It was on the TV, and we're like, oh, it's Oh yeah, Steve Carell.
Steve Carell, that was the other.
It was kind of like, oh, that's Jim Carrey and Steve Carell. It's funny. That's what I. And look, and James Gandolfini was in it. So.
Yeah, and I think he passed away shortly after from unfunny.
You're right. Out of 5 stars, a lot of on IMDb it has like 3 stars. So
that movie sucked all the funniness out of him. And
you're right. There's a lot of bad reviews. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I would imagine so.
Even this one place Rotten Tomatoes gives it 2 stars.
That's not good.
Yeah, that's not good at all.
I wish I could remember whose joke it is.
Oh wow, I'm sorry, but you are right because. It's 38% on the tomato meter, and the audience gives it 33%, even lower.
I don't remember who did this joke, and forgive me, whoever you are, for if anyone knows, put it in the comments. But someone had a brilliant joke about Rotten Tomatoes, where they said, that movie got 15% on Rotten Tomatoes. To give you a frame of reference, the Zapruder film got 16%.
That's funny.
That is a golden joke,
Yeah. Oh, that's good, man. But yeah, so that's what I want to do. Then, if you're free on a Monday and you want to head down to the store, comedy store, I got a lavalier I can put on you, so your sound will. I mean, it's not going to be perfect like a TV taping, but it's going to be way better than that lady at the Toy Drive. Yeah. It's going to be way.
Well, I demand excellence.
Yeah, it's going to be. Yeah. I'm telling you now, and just as my personal goal, I want to capture the greatness of Mike Black.
You're too kind.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's plan to do it like next Monday.
You got it. I'm serious. And the only thing I would I was going to say, do I even need this? I was going to say, like, if you had a laptop, I could but we'll figure that out later. Like how I'm going to get the footage to you, but we'll figure that out.
Or would it be easier to use my phone?
Oh, yes. But then I just don't want to go back into that overexposure problem thing. But you're right, we could do it.
That I'm not as worried about. It's just having someone there. That's really the concern. Is like the image quality and the sound is even okay. I just like every time I've tried to tape something at the store, someone's knocked over my camera or just stood in front of it, or two comics will sit behind it and joke about their own lives or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, all the things that can go wrong have gone wrong while I'm trying to do that.
I know. Yeah, we'll figure that. Yeah. Okay, that's what we'll do.
But we'll figure that out off the air.
Yeah, we'll have a tripod. We'll have a thing. Do you use a tripod?
I have it to no success.
Okay, so I even have a tripod, which is good because that's something I didn't used to think about. And then what happens is whoever's holding the camera, their arms get a little tired, and now all of a sudden the thing gets shaky, and the person.
But yeah, just having someone there to keep it steady and keep someone from knocking it over.
Exactly.
Helps
out. You know what I could do too is I could get a little closer to the stage. That way the audio is like surround sound, like the people will be laughing all around the microphone, and then it'll be able to hear you better.
Yeah, because I have footage of this guy doing it, but a guy knocked over my camera once, and then he was drunk, and I think he tried to fix it, but when he fixed it, he just had it aiming up at the ceiling.
I know. Oh my!
I think he thought I was just doing an audio recording, and was like, "Oh, I'll just point it back at the stage."
I know. Alrighty, well, listen, guys. Thanks for checking out the Pocket Party Podcast episode. I want to say, oh gosh, is it 261? Where are we at right now? I don't even know.
That sounds good. Make sure and follow, subscribe, tell your friends, share the podcast with anyone you can share it with. We really want to get the word out as much as we can.
Absolutely. And I always forget, if you listen to it on audio, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button. That way you don't have to think about, what podcast do I listen to? It'll just go right to you. You'll get notified whenever we upload a new episode. So if it's Spotify or Apple, however you listen to podcasts, please subscribe. And thanks again, and we'll talk to you soon. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Hanukkah, and all that good stuff. And you guys be happy and keep that positive mindset, and your life will be a lot better, as we're finding out.
Yeah, happy holidays, everybody.
All right, guys. We'll see you soon, Mike.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Look at you. You made it all the way through. That was cool, right? Man, I can't even believe a moth came on stage like that. Imagine if it started, like, chewing your clothes off and you were, like, down to your underwear by the end of your set. Like, what happened? The moth. If you guys want to... If you would like a personal shout out video message from me, I do it on CAMEO. Go to CAMEO and look for Darren Carter. The link will be below. If you look at the description of this episode, you'll see it on YouTube. You'll see it on Apple. However you listen to podcasts, you'll see the link. And other than that, have a great day, guys. Darren Carter, Party Starter. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Everybody listen to Darren Carter. We all know he's the party starter. So if you want to listen to a podcast for free, then listen to the Pocket Party.